It's a great title. Hitler Killed the Duck.
Yeah.
Some people might know it, but I've never heard you tell it. Where did it come from?
Comes from about 1944 in Upton Park, Odeon, kind of one of those Art Deco Egyptian jobs. You know, I think there's one in Islington still. And I used to go and see Bambi, and well, Bambi was my favourite movie. In fact, when I was about 13, I did a painting of Bambi, and it was the first bit of adulation I ever had, because at school it was pretty grim because I was dyslexic, so I was treated like the, you know, somebody's got to dig the roads. Anyway, that's another story. But I used to see all these films there. I used to go to the cinema a lot. I mean, I know every movie from Hollywood in that period, and I was about 6 or 7. I think I was 8 when the war ended anyway, so you can work it out. And Hitler, a V2, did away with the cinema, and I thought that dickhead Hitler has killed Mickey and Donald Duck and fucking Bambi. So you can imagine I was a little bit pissed off with him. And he was my bogeyman. You know, the first name I knew was Hitler. It wasn't Rex or Glad, who was my mum's name, or Bert, who was my father's name. Hitler was the first name I knew, which is kind of odd if you think about it. And I was giving it a lot of thought. All the arseholes in history are more famous than the good guys. You know, Hitler, Stalin.
Mao.
Yeah, Mao, he was pretty awful.
Pol Pot.
Yeah, well, you can go on. I could have done them all. Condé Nast.
And yet history is supposedly written by the winners. But so when you were a kid, I mean, I read that you used to draw Disney characters, Bambi.
That's all I did. I did.
Did you draw Hitler though?
No, no. Hitler's a new. Took me 70 years to get around to Hitler, but he's always been in the back of my mind. And they're more cartoony. These are different. I've got another series that I did about 5 years ago that made him look more like a cartoon. And you know, it's not, my stuff's for me. I never thought I'd ever show these. And Jamie would, you know what Jamie's would. Oh, I want to lick them. Oh, lying fucker, he wants to sell them. And he said, why don't we do a show of your paintings? And that's how it came about, because I do them for myself. They're not like I make sculptures or little cabinets of curiosity. It's for me. It's what I do, because my photography now is so sophisticated and so, you know, and it kind of gives me a freedom. I don't have to worry about anything. I'm not interested in technique. I'm not interested in anything. I mean, I've been painting since I can remember. I still got my little Noah book. Noah, I don't know if that's the right pronunciation. The guy on the boat, you know, with the animals. Noah?
Noah.
Noah. I know what his fucking name. Anyway, I've still got the colour. I coloured in all the Noah characters. Anyway, this is boring. Go on, something else.
It's not actually. It's very. So, how does it feel then for you now to be sitting in a room surrounded by things that you say are just for you? I mean, have you made a kind of a big decision in your life? Do you feel vulnerable by these? You don't strike me as a man who feels vulnerable about many things, but is this a vulnerable situation?
Well, it doesn't matter really, because, you know, I've been trying to find out what art is since I first heard the word, which I must have been about, I don't know, about 16-ish when I first heard the word art. There was such a thing called art, because, you know, there's not many art galleries in East Ham. And I don't know what it is anyway. I mean, Duchamp didn't know what it was, and if he doesn't know, I mean, I can't work it out. But it's just something that, I think, yeah, if you do things like this, they have to have some meaning behind them. It's no good just doing a painting of Hitler, and it's got to be something that comes, like the Annunciation. I'm always fascinated with the I think there's an Annunciation once. Anyway, oh, they're down there. You know, I love that Leonardo CinemaScope picture he did of the Annunciation. It's so modern, you know, with the straight.
It's funny you mentioned that picture there, because I was thinking about it the other day. It's in the Uffizi, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's a very flawed painting.
It didn't matter, does it?
No.
I wish I had a flawed Leonardo.
But have you...
Fucking Ada! It's flawed! Take it back.
I don't know, I think wasn't he a perfectionist, and wasn't he obsessed?
No, he was dyslexic, so he's like me. He never finished anything. You do something and then move on to the other. You know, if I don't do it quick, I get bored. Some of these take 5 years. Some of them take, I don't know, 5 hours. Depends.
you dismiss the claim that Leonardo is searching for perfection, but is that something that you're looking for in what you do?
No, I don't discount that he was looking for perfection, because I don't know what he was looking for.
Right.
But what I'm saying is I can get perfection in photography. You know, this country it's hard, because it's not like France or Germany or America where they understand photography. Here it's still kind of like watercolours you do on the weekend. And nobody in this country, I'm not complaining, because I don't really like the English much, but they're all right. And it's, you know, everyone knows the difference between a Picasso and a Beryl Cook. Nobody knows the difference between a Richard Avedon and I don't want to mention any names. No, a bit more than that, but not much more than that. Okay. You know, especially with digital, because anyone can take a fucking digital picture. So that's the problem in a way, because everyone gets grouped together, whether you're Bill Brandt or a paparazzi. They're photographers to the media, and they put them all together. There's no and all that nonsense about is it art. Photography is an art, but painting is an art. It depends whether the person's doing it is an artist. I mean, what's it mean? Is it art? No, it's a piece of canvas with some paint splodged on it, that's all. But if the person behind it has an idea that, you know, and I don't care about technique, because I get technique in my photography. So this frees me up from any kind of technique, because I see no virtue in photorealism. What's the point of painting a picture like a photograph when you've got the photograph? It seems madness. That's got nothing to do with art, that's just got to do with skill. And I'm not interested in skill, I'm interested in emotion.
But for me, the question is, I'm not interested in the question of whether it's art or not. I'm interested in the question of whether it's good art or interesting art or significant art or crap art. And but I'd love to have an argument with you, but that's not the aim of what I'm getting at. I'm just getting it for you. So does this come from when you were almost from a child, that art is something kind of elevated, something that is distinctive from other things?
I do that because I can't do anything else. I might have been Graham Greene or Emile Zola or somebody else if I could write or do something else. In life, I figure you just do what you can do. And it doesn't matter as long as you've got a passion to do it. See, I'm not sure that I kind of like some bad art. I mean, it's difficult to know what good art and bad art is anyway.
Yeah, I don't think there's an absolute condition.
I don't like education, you see. I'm sort of a bit against education. Because I think, like, silly Blair and all those silly people, they get education mixed up with intelligence, and they're two different things. And they just say, because he's got a degree in something, he's intelligent. He's not. He's educated. A bit like my African grey parrot. I can teach it all sorts of things. It's very educated, but it's not very creative.
When you start a painting, do you have any idea?
None at all. I always hope for an accident. You know, like in the middle of that one, I suddenly wanted to put me and my sister in. And oh shit, I just do them like cartoon figures, you know, or whatever. And in a way, it's an accident that they appeared in, because that's my mum looking out of a window that she could never afford. I was glad. She was tough, my God. I remember I got beat up when I was about 10, and I was all smashed up. Keith, his name was, big bloke. And my mum said, who did that? I said, Keith. She said, did you hit him back? I said, oh, I didn't get much of a chance. She said, go back and sort him out. So I went back down to see him, and he beat me up again. That's the last time I'm going to listen. That was the last time I listened to my mum, I'll do it.
This idea about then not knowing what you want to achieve, when do you know that something is finished?
When I sign it.
When you sign it.
Oh, shit, I've had enough of this and sign it. That's when I know. But it doesn't matter, because you know, I've been doing this for years and years. I got quite a few of these. Not Hitler particularly. But
were you doing this? Were you doing this all the way through the 60s and 70s?
No, small ones in the 60s, and I lost.
Where are they now?
In New York somewhere. I don't know where. I left them in New York when I had a girlfriend there, and we sort of went our different ways. She's not here tonight. No, we went different ways, and I guess they're burnt somewhere. It doesn't matter. They weren't. You know, the idea they're burnt is quite like that. It's a bit the old Picasso story in the sand, isn't it? Not that in the same breath as Picasso, but I think it's a Roald Dahl story, isn't it? Where bloke's walking along the beach and he sees this bloke making signs in the beach and the tide's coming in.
Yes.
Unlikely because there's not much tide in the Mediterranean, but it's a good story anyway.
So
he's the only person to ever see that Picasso.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it.
I did get it, yeah. But when a creative person reaches a certain level of celebrity or fame, and reaches a certain kind of perceived level of creativity, that there are many people, and this may mean nothing to you, but there are many people for whom the idea of taking a risk or showing things that are not necessarily what's expected of them becomes something that it makes them feel more vulnerable, or there's a sense that they have a responsibility to their own reputation. Now, clearly, you're kind of still anarchic in that way. You don't kind of care. But I'm still trying to tease out of you whether you feel any significant difference in exhibiting work that was essentially made for private consumption in the public arena, and how that relates to photography that you've done publicly for the last 4 decades.
5.
5, sorry.
5. I don't know how to answer your question, to be honest. Maybe I'm not smart enough, but it's just, it's what I do, you see. I think it's what you do. I mean, I do common sense, I think. I try and do common sense. I look at that and think, oh, that's common sense. And it tells the story of Hitler and my mum looking out the window, and, you know, you could go further, and the Annunciation is just, I love, I mean, I'm not religious, but I love the madness of somebody coming to tell somebody
they're going to have a child.
She's going to have a child. He's going to be a heavy fucking child, mate. The madness of, I mean, I love mythology, and you know, there's I mean, my favourite piece of art is Renaissance. It's not Picasso or Damien, or it's Bernini's, you know, woman, you know, Mother Saint Teresa. I mean,
in ecstasy.
That's the best. That's how I want to die, with that arrow going through my heart and coming at the same time. What a way to go. Especially if Bernini shoots the arrow.
I have to say that's the pithiest description of Bernini's ecstasy of St. Teresa I've ever heard. I mean, it's always been there implicitly, but no one's ever quite put it in those terms. So in that case, since we're on to sacred cows, let's move on to Velázquez's Pope then, because I'm very curious as to why in your reworking of that, I think via Francis Bacon clearly.
Yeah.
Why? I would love the idea of the self-portrait as the Pope. I want to talk to you about whether you've got delusions of kind of religious grandeur there. But why? How does Velázquez's Pope via Bacon morph into an image of you screaming in a crucified position, but actually sandwiched between two bondage queens?
Well, not a bad way to portray yourself, is it? I mean, it's better than against a grey background. Or even poor Alex Shorman at Vogue, a white background. Bailey, you've done another passport picture for me.
But what's the beginning of that then? Velázquez's Pope.
I don't know. Bacon tried to pick me up when I was about 20 in Soho. I loved his attitude. He just went through life, didn't he, in a kind of, didn't care about money really. And
no, he was asked what made him paint. He said, when I run out of money, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that. I like the bloke, the opera bloke, you know, what's he called, the Italian one?
Pavarotti?
No, composer, turn of the century. You know, when he'd write a new opera, when he wanted
Puccini.
a new Baghetti. Puccini, yeah. I love that. Oh, I want a new Baghetti, I'll write another opera. And I love taking away the pretentiousness of art. It should be like natural. And now, more and more people are going to think they're artists, and maybe they will be. Some of them will be, because now the computer, I mean, it can already do an Andy Warhol. So just around the corner is a Raphael and a Picasso. So you press a button. So in a way, you can't do this on a computer because it's too awful. You know, the computer wouldn't do this. The computer would turn around and say, you can't put those colours together, mate. So that gives me a freedom in a way, and it also opens up the possibility of accidents, because I think if I had a plaque, it would say, looking for the accident and hope to be lucky. I mean, that's the most you can expect. But they're the two things that excite me, and of course curiosity is the basic, is at the bottom of everything.
I was very surprised by these, and I thought they'd be much more controlled and composed. But I now see that they're a total kind of liberation. I mean, it's a kind of breakthrough. But do you distinguish between works where you use your own or the photographic image and when you start with a blank canvas? I mean, is the starting process still as difficult? Or is it much more loaded when you start with already?
No, I don't think so. Like Cingelina up there.
Yep.
I took that picture. I said, "You're never going to get to heaven, girl, unless I give you some wings and a ladder." And that's how that picture came about. It was kind of joke, you know, because I don't know if you know about, she was a porn star and
I know all about it. She was a politician. Now she's Jeff Koons.
everything.
Wife,
yeah. And with that's not a silk screen, is it? That's an inkjet thing on canvas, and then I left it out on Dartmoor for 2 years in the open. To see what, because I love things that happen. I mean, I've got about 10 out there at the moment on Dartmoor, all blowing in the wind. And I love what happens. Now, I'm not controlling that. The accidents control it. A bit of moss and there's a hole comes sometimes, and a bit of dirt. So everything, you can make everything you do all the time into a kind of art form, if you like.
You are still very associated with a kind of a vibrant culture that began in the 60s in Britain, and in some ways the legacy of that and the kind of cyclical return of that and the energy of that is evident today. That's what the generation of artists did in the 90s. Do you feel that your British or our London identity is meaningful in your art, or did that evaporate when you first started making significant visual things?
I have a kind of thing about Cockneysm coming from the East End, because that was an identity. None left now. There's about 4 of us left. So, no, I don't feel British particularly. I hate the flag. That's one of the reasons I hate America, is they're not crazy about their country. They're crazy about their flag, which seems odd. There's flags everywhere. There's flags in the toilet. I can't have a shit without looking at a flag.
I have to say, I think that's a very, very eloquent answer. I think the idea that you're rooted, forgetting the shit and the flag, I think the idea that you're rooted in the place that you came from, but that is Cockney, and that the idea of Britishness or internationalism is kind of meaningless, is great. But I love the fact that when you said that, I realised you're still wearing a red, white and blue shirt. On which note?
It's not red, white and blue. No wonder you're not a painter.
I'm not. And after this evening, I'm not going to be an interviewer again either. But it was actually a kind of pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
I always do.
I'm very flattered you came to do it
Pleasure.
too.
But thanks,
I really am.
It was great.